right, let's go ahead and get started. So it is a pleasure to welcome our NOAA colleagues to EMC today from the Analyze, Forecast, and Support, fondly referred to as AFS office. We have the director of the AFS office, Andy Stern, here today to provide an introduction to the talk. And we have YJ Kim, who is the chief of the Analysis and Nowcast branch at AFS, here to give the bulk of the talk. So Andy has an undergraduate degree from FSU, but we let him in anyway, and a graduate degree from GW, which has an excellent hospital.
Computer science engineering.
And YJ has an undergraduate degree from Yonsei University in Korea and did his graduate work at UCLA. So with this distinguished cast of characters from AFS, please proceed.
Thank you very much. First off, thank you, Brian, for allowing us to come here and speak with all of you today during the lunchtime seminar. Again, my name is Andy Stern, and so I'm the AFS director. And as the AFS director, I not only oversee an office within Weather Service headquarters of 60 very talented individuals that are there to support field operations, but I also oversee about half the National Weather Service budget because the AFS portfolio provides funding for 2/3 of all National Weather Service staff, and the majority of them are out in the 122 weather forecast offices, 7 of the 9 NSEP centers, and river forecast centers, some warning centers, and so on. So we have a very extensive program. One of the things that we do, however, is that we work with the field in order to collect the requirements. And so what am I doing here today regarding requirements? If we go to the next slide, it gives you an overview of basically what I want to talk to you about today. And so I just want to provide an introduction. I only have a few slides. I want to just provide an overview of where AFS sits with respect to EMC, with respect to the organization at large. To talk a little bit about Weather Service governance and some of the councils, a little bit about the requirements vetting process and how it would be great for us to work together, tightly coupled, in order to be able to try to answer some of the needs of the field and work together in the annual operating plan process together so that we can show the field that we're providing responses to their needs. And then starting a discussion about linking field requirements to innovation. YJ is going to be providing you with a number of testimonials about some of the challenges that are seen in the field. And we'd love to be able to build relationships with you guys, start a discussion, and be able to work together in the future. On the next slide, you see the National Weather Service organization chart. Everybody should be familiar with it. The C-suite are those boxes across the upper half, and then we've got 2 different branches shown here. We've got the Office of the Chief Operating Officer, and all of these boxes on the bottom right. And then we've got the OPPSD, the Office of Planning and Programming for Service Delivery, and all of the boxes on the left. And so routinely in headquarters, when we're talking about organizational issues or funding issues, we talk about the left branch and the right branch. The right branch represents operations. And the green boxes that you see on the bottom right are what we call the green team. That is where you have the 8 financial management centers that represent the field. So here we've got NSEP, the 6 regions, and then Office of Water Prediction, which includes the National Water Center. This is where the majority of people within the Weather Service reside. This box over here to the left of the green boxes is the AFS office. And the AFS office is closely coupled with these green boxes because we are there specifically to support the field. We provide field policy, directives, we help to validate requirements, we provide funding information, we help the field work with their annual operating plan so that we're able to go ahead and link the congressional appropriation with activities and deliverables. So you notice, and it's not a coincidence, that the AFS box is on the left side of these green boxes. Because if you notice on the left side, this horizontal row of boxes, they represent the portfolios that have direct appropriations from Congress that are here to provide service delivery for the field. And it is the close coupling of the AFS office with the green boxes that the AFS is right next to STI. That's where you guys reside, okay? And so the magic here is that the AFS office works with the field to collect their needs, validating their needs through the Mission Delivery Council and the governance, provides that across to the Portfolio Integration Council, which is chaired by Kevin Cooley of OPPSD, and then those requests are then delegated to the left side boxes here, where you can see the provision of innovation, whether it's for observations, whether it's computation, whether it's dissemination systems, or whether it's numerical modeling, okay? And so the fact that we've got this small area between AFS and STI means that we need a bridge. We are here to help build a bridge with you today. And hopefully this is the beginning of many more discussions. If we go to the next slide, you just kind of see a summary of what I was talking about with the AFS office, where we've got policy and directives and field requirements that come through the 11 national service programs. National service programs starting with A, aviation, going all the way through W, winter, okay? And we've got the Analysis and Mission Support Division, which also provides research to operations information to the OPPSD portfolios. And so what we have here within the Analysis and Mission Support Division, of which Mark II here is the division chief, and YJ is one of the branch chiefs, acts as the bridge between operations and OPPSD. And you can see here, we got Chandra in the audience representing our link to our colleagues at OER, where we work with John Cortinas and his team, JTTI, we work with CPO, Climate Program Office, in order to make sure that the needs of the field are then brought to the attention of our innovators, okay? It is not the job of operations to specify solutions, to engineer solutions. It is the job of ops to be able to convey what are the needs. It is to the left side's responsibility to identify, do you have the resources? Do you have the engineering? Do you have the capability in order to innovate and then bring solutions back to the field so that the field can do their job better? So you can see here, STI, that's where you guys reside. AFS 1 over here where YJ and Mark II sit. And then we have the bridge and then the operations proving ground in Kansas City. We are all one team. And so this is just an opportunity here in order to familiarize us with you. So I do that truly with open arms. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about councils, and this is in NWS governance documentation. There are 3 sections on this slide I'll just bring your attention to. Hopefully all of you have heard of the Executive Council. The Executive Council is the highest governance body within the organization. Those individuals, 5 people within the Weather Service, led by the AA, DAA, CFO, OPPSD, and CFO, they're responsible for strategic direction of the organization and to adjudicate anything that may percolate up from the other councils. The 2 others that I just want to bring to your attention, the Mission Delivery Council, which has principals made up from the FMC directors from the entire field. So that's the 6 regional directors, NCEP director, Water Center, Office of Water Prediction, AFS director, and chaired by the Chief Operating Officer. This is the decision-making body that takes the requests that come out of the field and then determines whether or not it becomes a validated field requirement. If it is a validated field requirement, it is provided over to the Portfolio Integration Council. That is led by Kevin Cooley, the OPPSD director, and that is where the discussions about capacity, capability, priority, ability to innovate and deliver comes from. So if you go to the next slide, this is my second to the last slide, this is the big chart. And over here on the right side, cards, process, tiers 1 through 3, and then the Mission Delivery Council. This is where all of the coordination, all of the needs gathering takes place, and the decision process as to whether or not something becomes validated occurs here. If it becomes validated, it goes across to the Portfolio Integration Council. The Portfolio Integration Council is made up of the portfolio directors and principally, so Ming Ji represents, in this case, STI and EMC. If it is determined that a validated field requirement is of a high enough priority, it will be delegated to the service delivery portfolios in order to innovate. Those innovations would then potentially need training or perhaps testing in the operations proving ground and then eventually implemented in the field. This box here, the service delivery portfolio, is where you reside, okay? And so what YJ is going to talk about today are certain challenges, certain science challenges that have come in from the field that he would like to present to you in order to be able to start a dialogue, right? And so the final slide is my thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for coming here and spending your time with us. Thank you for getting to know us better. Thank you for recognizing that we have governance and we are one team. And thank you for continuing the dialogue. Let's not let this be the last time that we have this kind of a discussion, because I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about to potentially focus energies in order to really bring great innovations to the field. And with that, I would like to introduce YJ again. YJ Kim is our AFS 11 branch chief, and he is really the tip of the spear of R2O within operations. YJ.
Okay. Before, can you take some questions on the governance process? Because
okay.
Being a relative newbie to the Weather Service, so EMC's been building models for decades.
Yep.
So are we at the point in the governance process where every activity that EMC is engaged in can be traced back to a vetted requirement that has gone through this process?
No, because you have decades worth of innovations, but what you have to consider is that many of the things that are being done are grandfathered in because at some point somebody thought it was worth to innovate.
Okay.
Now, the governance process, the governance process goes back to April 1st of 2015, when Congress went ahead and approved the reorganization of Weather Service headquarters. Okay? And so since then, we have stood up these different governance councils in order to be able to get some sanity and some control to allow prioritization of what resources are used to innovate versus not. Now, something that the Chief Operating Officer put into the governance this last year was, if there is going to be a major change to a model or a new model, then that needs to go through the Mission Delivery Council so that we have situational awareness. The Mission Delivery Council does not have people who are modelers on there, generally, okay? We are usually forecasters who have spent decades in the field, and we are consumers of the numerical weather guidance that comes to us, and we make forecasts and warnings. So we're not numerical meteorological scientists, okay? But we have an understanding of what it takes in order to provide the forecast and warnings. Now, we also recognize that we don't want to stop the machine of progress. And so if there happens to be ongoing activities in order to make step changes to models and different types of things, that can go on without the situational awareness of the Mission Delivery Council. We don't want to slow that down. But what we do want to do is we want to make sure that our innovators recognize that we're working towards a strategic plan, that we report up to Congress, and that we're not investing in things that are orthogonal to that. And so it's really about truly having the right side knowing what the left side is doing and vice versa, and supporting each other through the AOP process.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay? And so the point is, if we say that we have a validated field requirement in order to do X, then it would be amazing to be able to team up with STI. We go to the STI AOP development meetings and say, can STI have a milestone to support X? And then we can have co-sponsored milestones, and we have a success because we're integrated. Did I answer your question?
Perfect. Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. So
Okay.
I can't.
Not bad.
Not bad. Thank you.
Time-wise.
I took three extra minutes.
Only 5 minutes over the.
Well, all right. Okay.
Okay, so
Thank
thank you again for giving us an opportunity to share our thoughts. And with that nice introduction, I want to go to the point. So, and allow me to sit and control the slide because I need to move around fast. So, my branch, Analysis and Outcast branch, concerns analysis and outcast tools. Basically, we listen to the field and understand their needs and develop them into requirements, and that's what we do. And among the tools used by National Weather Service, we found that RTMA ORMA was identified as one of the most important tools that needs to be urgently improved. And we say that based on our input from the field. So we collected field's needs on mesoscale analysis, generally speaking, through surveys, opinions, testimonies, and focus results, etc. So here I'm going to present some examples of the needs, followed by some gap analysis. Okay, so we're going to talk about the needs and gap analysis, and there will be 3 types of slides. The first type based on field's input that we put together. The second set is directly from the RTMA ORMA science group. I'm going to show the slides as are. The third set is about our gap analysis. So this is by Bruce Smith, presented at the last STI annual meeting. And they say there are 2 important things, NBM and RTMA ORMA, including its 3D version. And they are used, RTMA ORMA is used for bias correction and verification, and especially it is critical to the performance of NBM, and that's why they put through these main things. And this is from Jeff Craven. I'm not sure. Oh, he's there. Yeah. Sorry, I use it again. So this is so-called NBM initial operating capability dashboard. Basically, these numbers show the performance of NBM. And that there are 2 different data sets, verification data sets, that are used to verify the NBM. So if you look at these red boxes and pay attention to the wind speed, when you verify against NBM against ORMA, then it's like 100% accurate. I mean, pretty good performance. On the other hand, when you verify NBM against META, then it degrades significantly. So this is just an example that the NBM depends strongly on what kind of verification data we use. So this, in other words, means that we really need to make sure that we have the good analysis field to be fed into NBM. And we conducted surveys last year. Among those things we collected, there are unmet needs, and you are seeing the top 4 lists with most counts. So they want improved RTMA ORMA, especially over complex terrain. They would like aviation parameters improved over complex terrain, and they want more observation data like from sounding, and they want improved QPF. And they have filled the boxes that we provide to suggest a lot of things. And some of them, actually many of them are about RTMA ORMA to be improved. And they talk about better meso analysis, better use of mesonet data, things like that. So message is loud and clear. These are from Jeff Craven. And he collected feedback on his mass product, and I just took these two testimonials. The Sue, excuse me, from Roanoke WFO reported that NBM winds are too low, and that's because of underestimated Irma winds. And that's especially the case over mountain valleys when the winds are not well mixed into the valleys. So that's a concern. And another one is about NBM winds not sufficient, meaning too low. And they talk about Irma NBM not working for those winds at the aviation altitude. So this is another testimony. And then this is by Dave Barenbrook of Central Region. And I took that from VLab forum on RTM and Irma. And he talks about a cold core associated with strong inversions. And he says short-range models like REP and HER did not capture strength of inversions. And he used to have higher retention of observations in complex terrain. And talking about additional high-quality observations, and also automated QC and backlist processes. Basically, he wants better analysis and verification against actual observations, especially in complex terrain. Another series of similar reports. And this is also about Colco by David Bernard, saying RTM and Irma rejected most of the cold temperatures, so it's making it hard for NBM to bias correct to these cold temperatures that are significantly overestimated. And talks about background model field error. So another similar message. And sorry, Jacob, that I didn't ask your permission to quote this. So he said, it exceeds the capabilities of the sensor, and future OpQC should may require site-specific QC, but it's not planned for the next version of the MOD system. So it's difficult. And somebody called it a dilemma, whether to make forecast closer to Irma or observations. If it's too close to, the Irma, and it will degrade the NBM forecast. So to some people, it's a dilemma. He also noted weighting to be locally changed based on elevation differences in complex terrain, for example. And he considered, go away, a philosophical question, but I think this is a science question we should try to answer. Okay, this is based on the so-called RTMA good enough list that was presented at the 2016 PSR, as far as I remember. And this Irma Su group took the list and put some descriptions. It is number 2 about quality control. So the Su group suggested to reduce the number of observations that are rejected because they are different from the model forecast, and it must be by an arbitrary threshold. And they talked about indications where the forecast is not capturing reality, the model issue, and suggested something like time continuity, neighbor agreement, and other factors to retain more data that did not make the cut in the current scheme. So I'll get to this later. The third of the list is about different weighting for different observations in varied situations. So the first guess may be missing critical local variations and needs to be more strongly adjusted for the observation. And suggested weighting observations more strongly at grid points where subgrid topographic variability is low, using more data over flat terrain in extreme cases, and put less weight when the variability is high, to avoid the data over complex terrain. We need to make sure if this is a good approach. And expanded variation in weighting based on observation type, For example, there are different types of measurement data, good ones and bad ones, for example. Then we may need to put different weights, and that's what they are talking about. And they believe this will help for mounting wing intercoil tools issues that I presented. So this is one of the slides that I took from the science group. I didn't change anything except for different coloring of some text. So they noted low wind speed bias, which is associated with the oscillation of mesonet wings, which are abundant. And I do not have the slide here, but they performed experiments with and without mesonet wings oscillated, and it was worse with mesonet wings oscillated. That's because of the bad quality of mesonet wings. And the most significant reason identified the group is metadata missing sensor height information, because it was set to 10 meters, which is way too high, much higher than what's actually measured. So they are working on this, and we fully support this effort. And actually, my branch member Jimmy Correa is working on developing requirements regarding metadata. So we will come up with something really soon. And now this is our gap analysis. What those all testimonies mean, and how do we relate to the needs of the field and to whatever you guys are doing to help develop better solutions. So here is a simple isolated mounting, and depending on the condition of the flow around, there are a lot of things can happen. And here I use F, which is a flow number, a measure of flow nonlinearity. Depending on these conditions like stability, wind, and barrier dimension, we can have pretty laminar flow or pretty turbulent flow, pretty calm wind or disturbed wind, rotors, intense lee waves and hydrostatic waves, and saturation and blocking. If I summarize, we can think about these two representative physical processes. If there are waves propagating up, they drag and affect the surface, and that is realized as downslope windstorm, for example, and hydraulic jump in some interpretation can be blocked upstream and become turbulent in reverse direction, things like that. So the bottom line is flows over complex terrain, and that includes not only mountains, but also coasts, lakes, and islands, are highly inhomogeneous, meaning changes in space, transient changes in time, and anisotropic changes directions. So we really need to figure out what's happening or what might be happening in the future in order to process our data. So these different processes are actually different flow regimes. And the question is, are the field's needs adequately met? I list here a few things from the testimonies of the field. Model biases over complex terrain, including valid, degrading mesoscale analysis, metadata to include sensor height, QC to retain more or less number of observations, with the weighting depending on topographic variances in complex terrain, different weighting for different observations in various situations, time continuity, neighboring agreement, and other factors. They all talk about this, actually. They want to distinguish between these flow regimes in our interpretation. And for example, time continuity, we should not make any time average, because we need very high resolution, both in space and time, and we need to be able to catch those. So our gap analysis only suggests that these flow regimes may not be systematically distinguished in current QC algorithms and station flagging. Speaking of station flagging, this is what is being done right now, again from the group. So basically people report about some stations, whether they are good or bad. However, say that you have a station here in calm state, okay, everything is great, and the sensors all capture what's happening. And suppose that things change without moving to a different station, things become like this or this, then it will be very hard to capture what's going on. But even if captures, the model may not be able to capture those. Then we have discrepancy, and that's the struggle of the problem. Another slide. So what's going to be happening in the next version? Something like similarity theory-based adjustment and elevation adjustment. This is a good way to start, and we have to go through this anyway, but similarity theory is not going to work. It's too simple. And another one, neutral stability, uniform reference length. Again, this is a good way to start. However, the reference length changes a lot depending on these flow regions. And stability matters because these topographically forced waves are strongest when the atmosphere is stable. When it's neutral, not much happening except for some separations and blocking. So we really need to address those eventually. Again, this is a good way to start. And log wind profile, no, it's not going to work. Although, I mean, it's good to see some improvement when these adjustments were made. So, I want to really make sure that I'm not criticizing any work you guys are doing. You are hard-pressed with all those things and working amazingly, but we are just trying to help by prioritizing what should be done. Because the fields people are demanding that. The next item in the subgroup list is background error covariance, which is a way to specify analysis uncertainty for data assimilation. The data was something less than 1/2 of a standard deviation, different from mean or variance. And that should be updated in real time and applicable to all time frames, daily, seasonal, yearly data. They demand a lot. And what that does that mean? And you guys are working on this and already produced improved results. So what happened is the background temperature error was mapped to the shape of the valley and terrain. They look pretty similar. This is good as the first approximation. However, we talked about the mountain wave, what they can do and what kind of asymmetry they can create. But don't forget the valley effect. It changes in time, and it is complicated by the effect of mountain waves and something called Bernoulli effect, channeling effect, not to mention the blocking. So it's going to be really complicated. This simple mapping is not going to work because it can change a lot. Something can happen upstream, downstream, or in the valley. And do not forget this famous phenomenon that involves orographic rain and rain shadow effect. What this means is terrain of large variation can change temperature, humidity, as well as the wind. So it touches on a lot of different parameters. So again, at this point we are asking questions. Are these effects due to inhomogeneous, transient, and anisotropic nature of topographic flows fully representing in our formulation? Background error covariance and downscaling we didn't go over today, but I can talk about it if you want later. Anyway, so our gap analysis to link the field needs to this solution space, but by translating what the field wants into some modeling terms. And this is again from Jeff Craven, but originally the Matt Juggler of Western Region performed the test QPF for an atmospheric river event that occurred about a year ago. And this is different from Irma. NDFT, WPC product, we have two versions of NDM. If Irma is correct, there are significant underestimation over the Sierra Nevada, while there are significant overestimation of QPF along the coastal valleys. However, the Matt Juggler wasn't sure if this is the case. In other words, if Irma was correct. So he made some comparison of those products against rain gauges over that highly complex terrain areas. Here, those cities that I boxed in green are where NBM 3.1 is the closest to station ops. So here, for example, over Reno, NBM 3.1 is the best, closest to ops, and Las Vegas is the same. However, those cities that I boxed in magenta are where steep topography is present or large variation occurs. You can see that NBM 3.1 is not the best. The reason is clear because we thought it's the best here, but actually overall, while NBM performs well overall over terrain areas, there are problems, larger biases over steep terrain areas. So this kind of reinforces the field needs to improve ORMA. We really need better ORMA to improve NBM.
So
Yes.
I'm having a little trouble parsing this. So if I look at Fresno,
Okay.
so that's a city with steep topography.
Okay.
The observation is 2.26,
Okay.
or large terrain variation, sorry.
Yeah. So I added the second one to
I've
cover
done it
that.
once, sorry. Apologize.
So people think
Right.
mountains are the most important, which is true, but also along the coast, for example.
So my question, it's outlined in pink, right?
Right. Pink. Margin.
So so then the comment in the green box says NVM shows large biases.
Mhm.
So I see 2.94 and 3.09. NDFD looks pretty good.
Right.
So the takeaway, I'm just trying to sort out all the acronyms here. The takeaway here, the focus is on the NVM.
Right.
So NDFD looks like it's doing okay. All right.
Okay, but not always, especially over this topography or large terrain variation areas. That includes coastal valleys.
Right.
Coastal valleys.
It just looks like it. Fresno is one example where the NDFD kind of nails the op. If I look at Alta, Utah, 2.25 for the WPC, which is 2.4, but we're focusing on, what are we focusing on? Which columns are we focusing on that are causing concern here?
I mean, the point is, NBM should be the analysis record for us, and there will be version 3.2, but still, we need to make sure that it's better in most places.
Okay.
Because,
I mean, isn't NBM the forecast on here, right?
right.
So you should have the IRMA on here too, just to see where it compares with the station observation.
If Omar is correct, that's why it's compared to rain gauges.
Right, but I mean, wouldn't we need IRMA listed as a column on here to do that comparison?
Ask that person, please. But he already thought Omar is out.
Yeah, so the reason I bring that up is because the IRMA precipitation is derived from stage 4, which comes from the river forecast centers, and they use these rain gauges in their analyses. Now, the IRMA precip is actually revised up to 7 days after any event. And the precip that's shown on the viewer page, now I think it's changed since then, but it used to be the precip that was made within 24 hours just to get graphics up in a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
So in this particular case, I don't know that that was the best available IRMA precip, because a lot of times the RFCs will go back, they'll revise things, especially on atmospheric river cases.
Right, you are correct.
So,
I'm not saying Omar is
we'll have
wrong
to.
all the time, but you've seen the testimonies from the field, and that's like as early as 1 month. Like last month, they talked about problems, so we are listening to their messages. So you are right. I mean, I can't say one is wrong and one is right. Point is, we need to make sure that we provide the forecast with the best possible ORMA or whatever NVM. So actually I did it really fast because I was tasked to give some discussion time.
That is great.
So the field request to improve ORMA LTMA over complex terrain, or more generally areas of large terrain variation. And the reported biases in the winds, temperature, and precipitation should be elevated or reduced. And that to improve quality control, including station flagging, and better background error covariance, and importantly, metadata, which gives us some hope. So our gap analysis, which translates field needs into modeling terms, strongly suggests the reasons behind the unmet needs. Those testimonies that they talk about, I just translated into those familiar terms to you, probably. To meet the unmet needs, what we believe is, in a condensed phrase, spatial temporal variability of topographic flows should be better represented. So we need to work together, I guess, to better meet the field's needs, and we need to coordinate both between requirements and solutions. We want to develop requirements that are useful to you, and you cannot just write something and call them requirements, because we are supposed to write requirements. So we need coordination. And one of the things we can do is finding a rate validation metrics. And actually, this is part of analysis now framework that we are aiming at for FY19, and Jamie is also working on it. He's the only member, so I give him everything to be done. And we need to work together on milestones on mesoscale analysis. And we have the AOP process coming starting from FY20. So I think that should open up some discussions. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to just kind of summarize from the high level. You've seen a lot of things presented here today. And what we're bringing to you are not governance validated field requirements. These are the disparate pleas from the field. And what I really wanted to do was to kind of bring this to you, to show you the diversity of different types of things. We're talking about temperature, we're talking about humidity, we're talking about wind flows, susceptibility. QPF, basically it's a potpourri of science challenges. And I would love to see a discussion between the EMC scientists and the requirements side to be able to cull this down a little bit. Obviously, you're working on certain aspects of this, and help us to be able to talk to the Mission Delivery Council about what's already being worked on, what's being prioritized, where there potentially are insufficient resources, right? So that we can bring the scientific services divisions into the discussion so that we can work together on prioritization, bringing certain challenges up to the Executive Council if need be, right? It basically closes the gap between innovation and the governance and the requirements. So I'll open the floor to comments and questions.
We're working pretty hard at moving towards the 3D argument, and we're developing new coherence packages for that which will address some of these problems. But I think just in the recent 2 or 3 weeks, I've been working with Fusion Management, and we're working with Jacob and Manuel and Becca. There's a new opportunity on the jump to 3D coherences that will allow us to extend that to 4D coherences. It looks very promising using a multi-bit framework and the fully adaptive and isotopic, so that you can have coherences in 4 dimensions that will give you spatial and temporal consistency with coherences that flow with the flow that's given by, say, background field. So I just want to bring to your attention that this may be a new opportunity in the future to go beyond the 3D architecture with something more consistent before the architecture.
If I may comment.
Yes, please.
So actually, this schematics talks about the old name. It's not Lua anymore, so 3D version. And a lot of problems which have to do with vertical variations will be improved, that's for sure, with the 3D version. And that on isotropy, nature of flow can be better represented. However, still, the horizontal direction, in the horizontal direction, there are a lot of processes not represented right for a variety of reasons. And still we hope that the 3D version will address some of the issues, but for example, these unresolved processes by quality control, background or error covariance, things like that, need to be addressed. And it's not coming to us free.
Well, one of the problems with the present 2D RTMA is that covariances are very, very anisotropic and they're spatially adaptive. They don't adapt dynamically. And what we need is spatial covariances that will adapt to the dynamical situation.
Yeah, no doubt the background error covariance will be much better. And now we will enter into the new problem whether we actually do the data automation or this initialization, whether we need analysis or just do everything with full enthalpy. I wouldn't go into that far, but it'll be a mix, some kind of hybrid. When you have the 3D version, it's going to be looking very similar to her. So, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't have brought up that complication. It'll be better, but we'll have to see, and we'll try to develop metrics to make sure whatever you do are used to meet the needs in their languages.
Yeah, I understand the RTMA products, they want to market in 15 minutes at least, maybe more frequently in the future.
Okay.
So that's very, very difficult for a full numerical model to provide.
So, yeah, we are.
Using the analysis framework set up in the RTMA framework, it should be possible to provide those analyses very quickly without the direct involvement of the model except to provide the background.
Right.
Yeah, just want to build off a little bit of what Jim was noting there, just in terms of some of our future direction and future work. In the past, I think RTMA group has had a really good working relationship with a lot of folks in the field, and I think some of that was shown here through a variety of quotes and things through our VLab forum. And as a part of that, there was that Sioux Team Good Enough list, and actually we've been working off that and over the past several years and kind of trying to distill that information into scientific priorities, ways in which we can address some of the field's concerns. Some of the challenges with that is sort of kind of filtering out the signal from the noise. A lot of times we'll get comments or complaints about certain issues, and you kind of have to figure out, okay, well, what are they really talking about here? What's the real underlying issue? So when we're able to, we took some time to really do that. And thanks, Mike, for bringing this up. When we do our implementations now, when we do update the field, we kind of let them know what we're working on and how that helps address some of the items. Some of the items that are listed on there and the ways in which they want things addressed may not necessarily be the best scientific way to go about tackling those issues. So we've actually worked a lot of these plans into our plan, or a lot of these issues into our plans in the past, and they've also helped set some priorities going forward. This is in terms of the 3D RTMA, the wing profile adjustment, which is more than it'll be more than just a neutral stability profile adjustment. We're going to be incorporating a variety of roughness lengths and stability profiles that are correct for the local area, and including priorities to get better metadata for mesonets, things like that. Of course, it just a lot of comments sometimes come down to personal preferences from forecast offices, which is again, it's a little bit of a challenge. And then one last thing I do want to highlight, and I took a note here. I sometimes wonder if there's a social science component to this. It's a little bit untapped. I think, a lot of the comments we get are, RTMA or IRMA didn't fit this observation close enough. Now, there are certainly a variety of scenarios where, we got to do better. But there are also situations where perhaps a station is located in an exceptionally narrow valley. I mean, the RTMA is in a 2.5 kilometer grid, so it can't resolve a lot of those subgrid scale flows. We're never going to fit that observation perfectly. And scientifically speaking, we probably shouldn't. That's going to introduce some artifacts in the analysis that just they're implausible and unphysical. So what do we do to reconcile that difference with the field? How do we communicate that in an effective way to say, okay, this is within the realm of what is scientifically reasonable and possible, and then here's this observation that we're comparing the analysis to. And I think that's a major challenge, and not something that, I mean, we've kind of made some inroads there, and I think a lot of it's from the benefit of working with the WINE team. We've been able to do a lot of that. But that is definitely an outstanding challenge. You know, it's sort of, this is a point observation, this is a gradient analysis. The two aren't necessarily going to line up perfectly.
Right. So, I mean, as I noted, you guys are working hard and you will get there. Our goal is to make it faster with some kind of prioritization. Because whatever the field needs, we want to kind of show them this is what they want in a concise way. We convey the message. And also, this is a backup slide. I know you guys are working on it. So, we know that. And speaking of personal preference, that's one of the reasons why we exist. I mean, you don't have time to deal with all different field people. So our job is to take the survey and listen to them and kind of make them concise and deliver to you only the essence of the information. So we are created to help you, not to compete or anything. So a lot of things that you have been doing, he says, be careful what you wish for. We'll have to take over, like the station flagging. I mean, not the technical aspect, but we should be the one analyzing those and make them concise. So, I mean, I didn't go through this with my bosses, but
Yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah.
it.
right. So, and one thing is the social science. We have that in mind, and actually FY20, a lot of milestones have social science component connected. So we involve social scientists. So we call them. And Jeff has been raising hands.
Jeff with the G, but Jeff with the J,
Oh.
are you, is Jeff with the J, is your comment for Jacob's?
Well, so we developed NWS and EMC blend and RTMA has developed and a good relationship. But this is just as much or more a social science issue than a science issue. And it's probably going to take 10 years to solve this problem because it's going to take that long to get cultural change. Because, and this is no fault, the field comes with an observation-centric, at the local level, view. METARs, the goals. Now, modelers who have to do data assimilation have a very different view of fitting data. Okay, and we pulled, I think with RTMA, we pulled the Band-Aid off right away. And it shocked people, and they didn't done stuff that doesn't do match odds all, and we said, it's 80 degrees at Milwaukee. It can't be anything but 80 degrees, and that to this date, we can, no matter what we say, no matter what the Sioux say, look at the TV stations. They don't put up IRMA for current temperatures. It's all the airport. And I think we've still kind of gone down this path, and how we get to acceptance. I don't know, but we're all in this together because the blend's the same way. I can show all the earlier base verification. So, what happened at my lab, and how do we? Where is the happy medium? And I think AFS plays a huge role in because we can argue as developers, but AFS plays a role. What is the happy medium? Because they're just not going to accept even, and you guys can spend, and yours, you like social science.
Jeff with the G.
People under 1 o'clock. I just want to try and resolve a little disconnect. I think I'm seeing in how you're discussing the relationship between AFS and EMC. Andy, I heard you say our job is to gather requirements, not engineer solutions.
Right.
But then in a lot of the slides after that, it seemed like there were some solutions being engineered in terms of, so where do the lines get drawn?
So we really tried hard to back away from providing solutions in this presentation. And so I wanted to alleviate any kind of issue here. We're not here in order to tell you how to do your job. We're here to talk meteorologist to meteorologist about some of the issues and really do seek your help and opinion on what's within the realm of the possible. Something that Jeff said is something that is really a human factors issue that goes beyond numerical weather prediction, that you hit this on the head. And so from where I sit, working with all of the regional directors, it's really about getting the grassroots forecaster to get behind the numerical weather prediction technology, to accept it, to move away from the deterministic models, to move away from the model du jour, right? And in order to do that, many of the people out there say, you must show me through verification that your model is as good or if not better than what I was using before, otherwise you're going to drag me kicking and screaming to use a new innovation, okay? And so it's my hope that having the discussion with operations, across to the innovators, that you understand that it is a cultural divide, exactly like Jeff was talking about. And please, if you took away from any of these slides about potential engineering solutions, that's not what we're here for. Sometimes, in order to be able to describe a complexity, you have to be able to show some examples that potentially might lead you down a path towards potential solution. That's not what we're about. And really, you can help us help you by giving us better clarification about how we describe some of these challenges. When I go to the AOP corporate meeting, or if I go to the executive council and we talk about certain things, I think it would be helpful that we're on the same page. So please take this as, we're here to be a partner from the requirements side of the house. And we're not even, our group doesn't have a direct linkage into the SSDs because they're under STI. We work with the Meteorological Services Division folks, the folks, the rubber meets the road forecasters. But it's really important that we all come together on this because our resources are not getting increased, and we need to really, really try to focus what we put our energies into. And the enterprise is expecting more and more out of us. So thank you for your comments. Please don't take any of this as being prescriptive.
If I may quickly add one thing. One of the main tasks given to my branch is to prioritize analysis and outcomes tools. And for that, we need to understand some details of whatever solutions out there in order to meet the field's needs. So as he nicely explained, we are trying to understand the science aspect of it. For example, if you say that, okay, model A is better than B, and you ask why, then we should be able to say a few things about why. Yeah. That's about the boundary we can not penetrate, but kind of go over just 1 foot sometimes every now and then. So do not misunderstand that we are giving you solutions. And I didn't talk about any solutions. If you want, I can give a 2-hour talk. So I'm not doing that. just touching only the basics, because that's what the field people say. That's all.
And in fact, to take that a step further, if you would like to have a separate working group meeting with YJ to talk about some of those things, be my guest, right? From where I'm sitting and probably where Brian's sitting, we're sitting at a much higher level, just to try to make us work more efficiently.
Looking longingly back at those days of doing science.
There you go.
I understand.
I understand. Yes, that's correct. There were other questions. So somebody back here who has their hand up before?
It was me, but that largely captured the nature of what I've been asking. So even just this concept of gap analysis, for an analysis product, there was no DA theory. There's nothing about the DA science. It was all very model-centric. And that was, as a DA person, very jarring. So there's theoretical reasons why we have to do certain things we have to do certain things. We don't have to get into it now, but the fact that this gap analysis has identified modeling specific issues without acknowledging the limitation of the DA science, if you try and figure out what the solutions are going to have to be, was slightly concerning as someone that's probably going to be involved in working on this.
So that topic is called crossover point discussion. which is very important. And I had a slide that I took away at the last meeting. So we need to work together how much DA component we import into our analysis systems. Because actually sometimes the boundary is not clear. But as I said, more and more DA component will be integrated when it goes to 3D world.
But there were implications, even in the presentation, there were implications being made about something about the background area covariance as a function of either features or something in the model. There's no evidence that the thing that was being implied is actually true. It's being assumed.
Okay?
I think we have to be careful to not go down those paths because then we do start engineering solutions that we don't know.
That's what the field people say. So I was merely referring to what they say.
So I want to take an opportunity to say, okay, we're moving into a different paradigm for modeling here. We're moving into a community modeling paradigm where we would like to expose as much of this kind of thing as possible. So in a very general sense, what I would see in a mature community modeling paradigm is we would be participants. The field folks would be participants, and we would rely on some of this field input, and we would probably end up filtering out the folks that say, oh, well, there's your problem. What we would hear is, okay, I need a better analysis because the narrow valleys are not getting captured.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that day when we are all, it's not a game of pachinko, it is more a flow. It's not turbulent flow, it's laminar flow in the process of model development.
And so I know that we're over by a minute, and so we have to conclude, but can we build on the momentum from the start of this discussion to where potentially that kind of a discussion can take place between now and the end of April? Because we're going to be at the STI AOP meeting, and let's try to articulate with your input and with your grounding about what is and is not important. What are some things that potentially can answer some of the requests from the field, and potentially maybe even at the STI meeting there could be a sidebar to where you can discuss with the SSDs some of these things that they're saying that doesn't necessarily correlate. Makes sense, right? And personally, I know that he didn't get directly into data assimilation issues, but when he was talking about mesonet, metadata, citing, erroneous flagging, and things like that, DA was always in the back of my mind. He didn't not explicitly say that. So I want to thank all of you for participating with us and to continue to be a participant with us. Yes, sir.
Yeah. As far as things from AFS that can help us, I can think of one that's pretty simple. And I don't know if it's the science piece, but I think it's the call. And I'll tell you about the challenges we have. Remember Michael's earlier slides? He made a point that came from the NWS when we talked about object location precision. And I don't know if you know. Yeah, and that came from a production sheet review, and I believe the comment originated from NWS. What we have right now is a single decoder system that assigns locations for all METAR stations all across the world, including the United States. It gives a station ID and a lat one, and it's precise to 2 decimal digits. So KBCA is at 39.57 decimal or something like that. We'd like to see that precision increase, and this would help not only the RTMA, but that would allow models. It makes sense if the grids are getting finer and finer now. It would be nice if I had a master list of where all these stations are and where the actual instrument clusters are. Don't. We have a temporary list that we're looking to implement, and I'll tell you exactly where it came from. It came from a bunch of people going on to Google Earth, looking for the instrument clusters, putting a mouse over them, writing down the lat mark. And Dave Bernhardt, who sued Clear Falls, was, yes, he did a lot of electric. So we have that right now sitting in our development depot. First of all, we have no way to verify that. It's a good start, but I'd like something a little more official. The second issue with that is that decoder system is frozen. It's being transitioned from our IBM system, which is being decommissioned, onto the new Dell system, which means it's frozen until the end of the calendar year. So everything is off the IBM system. And I know getting that in the processing system off the IBMs and onto the Dells in a very high priority.
So could this be a metadata improvement project?
Yes.
So Jimmy can comment on it.
Yeah.
I've got that on my hit list as far as the level of precision that you need, so.
Yeah,
I'm all ears, tell me all about it.
Yeah.
And it gets better. There's different instruments that are at different parts of the airport.
Yeah, the instrument cluster thing, I think is really, I don't know how to write that yet, but I agree.
Yeah, and let's do that first with
Right.
There are issues, once you get into what we call measurement,
Yeah.
long range and everything,
Right.
university, the university measurement is pretty good.
Yeah.
There's, I'm sure there's a few people here who have stations in their backyards that are going up on sea level.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're probably using it. And you can decide for yourself whether that's
So-
a good idea.
Right.
This is exactly the kind of
Yeah.
cooperation that I was hoping for. You're linked into the observations portfolio.
I need to be.
Work with these
Yeah.
guys to get in, go in through Mark Miller, or whoever. Come to me if you need to get the proper people. I'm sure they've got metadata on a lot of the things that he was talking about. Let's make sure that they're equipped with the information that they need. This is exactly the kind of partnership you have a need from ops, from operations. Talk to us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because this is the sort of thing that's been, I don't know if it's going to make a huge science improvement, but from a customer service
Sure.
perspective, for lack of a better term, this is the sort of thing that I think could potentially go a long way. I mean, we've plotted some of these locations and we've seen, we plot them up on Google Earth and it's like a metro sites in the middle.
Can I ask the question from the telephone? Is there any question from the telephone? Okay, they're quiet. So,
So, I'm just thinking of the next JTTI card. So, has this requirement of February IRMA has been validated in the cost process or still going through the cost process?
No. So we're going to be putting through a request has been entered into the cards process to improve RTMA IRMA with specific focus on the specific focus on the cards request. Is it
Yeah.
topography?
Yes.
Improve topography.
Right.
Right?
I mean, effects of terrain.
And it's the effects of terrain. And it's a high level type of thing, which is why we need to come to you, because you can break it down into 20 different subcategories of how potentially that could be improved. And it's really important for OAR to be here because they're also our partners and you've got funding and you've got resources at other labs that potentially could link into EMC's effort. So we don't want to duplicate, but we want to try to focus, right?
Yes. So usually I work closely with Hendrik in getting the priorities for the JTTI card.
Yep.
And we have been talking too.
Right. Actually, I'm a
Yeah,
mock
so-
member, which is Management Oversight Committee for JTTI, and I'm involved in the review process. But those who solicit proposals, I wish they include this stuff.
Yes.
It's
So
very
that's
important.
why I want.
So for that, what I really would like, what my dream is to have the team involved from the get-go. So that, well, it's not just Hendrik, it's more than just Hendrik, looking at these things. That before any piece of paper it goes out, we've all come sort of consensed on what the priorities are going to be. That kind of method of operation. So I've reached out to both Ming and John in this regard, and I'm hoping that we'll get some traction on it.
You're absolutely right.
Good.
When I said Hendrik is a go-to person, he should be talking to all of you before
Yeah.
giving the requirements. It's not that it's coming from Hendrik's right. It's like a coordinate. He will be coordinating with all of you. Yeah.
All right.
But I can talk directly to you.
Yeah, this is a team effort, like Andy said.
So thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is
Thank you
great.
very much.
Yep. Thank you for allowing us to come and talk to the group.
We are an open shop.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, the business of the AFP is going to be really important because we have